Time is running out to experience the Orient with Art Bell. See details on back. IATFERDAA publication of Chancellor Broadcasting Company and Talk Radio Network RKIJ April 1995, J. Was Vincent Foster murdered? By Christopher Ruddy. New revelations about Vince Foster's death may be developing into the top news story of 1995. Christopher Ruddy, former investigative reporter for the New York Post and acknowledged expert on the Foster case, here lays bare some of the unanswered questions and glaring inconsistencies in the official explanation of Vincent Foster's demise. That he took the gun and placed it in his right hand using his thumb, even though he was left-handed. That he fired the gun and that it was found in an unusual position in his hand, that despite the barrels being placed deep in his mouth when he fired it, there was no blood visible on the gun. That there were very few powder burns, with the powder being on the eye. Would like to divide the Vincent Foster case into three parts: the body, the files, and the FBI. Vincent W. Foster was the deputy White House counsel and he died on July 20, 1993. He was one of the highest-ranking federal officials to die under suspicious circumstances since the death of John F. Kennedy. Let me give you a thumbnail sketch of the situation with regard to Vincent Foster's body. I am not saying that this was a murder, I'm saying we don't know yet. But if you accept the official party line that it was a suicide, you have to accept the following: that this devoted family man of 2 years left work in the middle of the day, after eating a full lunch, that he did not say goodbye to his family. That he left no suicide note, that he made no final arrangements, that he checked out his White House beeper, that he drove to an obscure Virginia park, Ft. Marcy, a place he apparently had never visited before. That Lie got out of his car and walked 600 feet through the heavily wooded park without getting a trace of soil on his shoes or clothing. That he climbed down the side of a steep hill, sat down, took out a 1913 antique Colt revolver that his family still cannot positively identify, a gun that had only 2 bullets in it with no matching ammunition found at the home, which is unusual for gun owners. Why? 1. C. Deputy White House Counsel Vincent W. Foster Jr. Wounds but no powder burns on the rest of the mouth. That there were no broken or damaged teeth, all of the things that are not always the case but are usual or typical in this type of death. That his body was found looking so neat that even the lead paramedic, George Gonzalez, said it looked as though Me Foster was ready for the coffin. That there was little blood at the scene despite the fact that he had 2 wounds, 8-NE in the mouth and 1 in the back of the head. Honest questions. I submit that if you ask questions about this death, you are not a conspiracy freak, you are not a nut. These are obvious questions. Also, if you look at the blood tracks on Me Foster's face, which the FBI studied, his body would have to be in at least 3 different positions, possibly 4, after his death. Let me explain this. Since there was so little blood at the scene, the pathologist hired by independent counsel Robert Fisk assumed that Mr. Foster died immediately, and that his heart ceased beating immediately, which is unusual. Your heart operates on an independent impulse system. It typically does not stop beating even though there is a wound to the head. It takes a minute or 2. In this case they say the heart activity ceased immediately. Yet, they found a number of blood stains indicating that Mr. Foster's head had been in a number of positions. In the first position, it had been in contact with his right shoulder because the blood stain on the cheek indicated that. In the second, the head had been tilted slightly to the right because blood was draining to the right. The third position indicated that blood had traveled from the right nostril up above the ear to his temple area. He was lying on a hill, meaning that the blood in this case would have had to defy gravity. And then his head was found, as the confidential witness has said and everyone else has said and the photographs say, in a straight-up position. Something doesn't fit. Then, of course, we had the situation of the unusual carpet fibers all over Me Foster's body. One of the points I made in a New York Post series in March was that the park police never did what is standard in this type of investigation. They should have suctioned Mr. Foster's clothing for unusual fibers and hairs. This is very standard. It determines whether someone else had come in contact with the body or the body had been in some unusual situation. Mysterious Fibers Me Fisk did this with his FBI investigators, and what did they find? They found, continued on page 15, letters from listeners, articulations, predictions from the graveyard. You have quite a following on the graveyard shift at the Reno main post office. Unlike Charlie, though, we have no way of calling in from work. So I made up a list of predictions from me and my fellow employees who enjoy the show. Dan, Saddam Hussein will try one last desperate attack on Kuwait. This time he will use at least one nuclear device, resulting in his total annihilation. Steve, hang on to your Confederate money. Several southern states will secede, beginning with Georgia. Don, it will be revealed that while governor of Arkansas, Bill Clinton contracted and was treated for a social disease. Lois, there will be new terrorist bombings in New York. Major buildings will be involved. Reggie, O.J. Simpson will be found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. K, the government of North Korea will self-implode, and Korea will quickly reunite under the government of the South. These events will unfold even faster than what happened in Germany. K is originally from Seoul, Korea, and closely follows events from home. Stan, there will be new Tiananmen Square-style protests all over China. They will not necessarily be in the same location, but they will be larger and far more widespread. They will be put down even more violently than before, resulting in a long period of oppression and isolation for China. Stan is Chinese, and a native of Hong Kong. He has recently visited China, and bases this prediction on the mood of the people he's talked to there. Virgil, the Philippine government will ask the U.S. Navy to return and reopen the Subic Bay Naval Base. Virgil is Filipino. Rick, me, there will be a major UFO-related admission from the government. It will not be about Roswell, though, as it would be too sticky for them to admit they've now lied twice. Rick Jackson, Reno, Nevada /7/Kobe5SM@J. Anzili TCHCDVLOTV1 take /1 Enemo ERMBEV upstart /7YTQTJB /FAI5 €. A reminder to all you nephews, just a quick note about a billboard I saw tonight. It had the traditional picture of Uncle Sam pointing in the middle of the sign. On the right were the words "Remember, he is your uncle," and on the left side were the words "Not your dad." I think we can safely assume it wasn't paid for by the Democratic Party. Kevin Alexander, KFYI, Phoenix, Arizona. Instant gun control. After listening to callers talk about gun control, about having someone buy a gun for someone else, and about the hassles involved with background checks, I am glad I am a licensed gun dealer in the state of Idaho. We have the Idaho InstaCheck system. I call, and in 5 minutes I know if someone qualifies or not. By the way, your newsletter is great. Don, Boise, Idaho. Donkeys, elephants, and rhinos. I am a deputy sheriff in Pierce County, Washington, and I listen to your After Dark page 2 Tax 51 AAIS taxes, J2 shows almost every night, and like millions of other people, I love M. Hopefully the Republicans won't blow the great opportunity handed to them by the voters, but if they do, I've thought of the perfect symbol for the new third party, the rhinoceros. The rhino symbolizes the ancient wisdom of the ultimate, and undeniable, truths of life, since it has been around just as long or longer than the elephant. It also symbolizes great strength and deliberation because of its mass and unstoppable motion. The best reason for the rhino to be the symbol is its horn. Mounted on its nose, the pointed weapon symbolizes a no-nonsense, take-a-no-crap attitude. In other words, cross me and you get the horn. P.S. Please keep Charlie around so we don't forget what the people in his collective are like. Steve Petrowski, Pierce County, Washington. From the high desert. Gun control, media hysteria strikes again. And by Art Bell, LM outraged, wrote the mother of a cop to USA Today last December 30th. Her letter was in response to a full issue the newspaper devoted to last December's media gun scare, the Black Rhino bullet. Of course, the anti-gun lobby has a name for everything. An inexpensive handgun is called a Saturday night special, A hunting rifle with a scope is called a sniper rifle, a military-style semi-automatic rifle is called an assault rifle, and any bullet capable of penetrating body armor is called a cop-killer bullet. Enter the cop-killer Black Rhino, and needless to say, the mom mentioned above, and many other concerned Americans, were outraged. That was the point, the whole point, and nothing but the point. Outrage is one of the most useful political tools. It is practically how things get done in Washington. If you can outrage enough people, you can create the kind of hysteria that makes for legislation, Washington style. With last December's breaking news response of the Black Rhino's new technology, it became an overnight success not because it was the perfect ammo, but because it was perfect ammo for the media machine, an opportunity for legislation by hysteria. Of course, the media make up only one leg of what Ronald Reagan called the Iron Triangle: the liberal media, the liberal special interest groups, and of course, the liberal politicians who dominated the U.S. Congress for so many years. In these After Dark pages, I like to stop and take notice of interesting events whenever I can, and this was one of them. Why? Because when the Iron Triangle kicked into gear over the Black Rhino story, it ground to a sudden stop only a day later. That doesn't usually happen, but in this case, there was a small problem connected to the fearsome Black Rhino bullet. It was a hoax, a bullet that, as far as anyone can tell, is no more powerful than any number of bullets on the market. Too bad for USA Today and the rest of the anti-gun crowd. Sometimes the media leaps before it, misses, looks and falls flat on its face. On such occasions we get to see the media agenda in the clear light of day. It's as if someone tried to get the better of you when your back was turned, only to find out you're watching him in a mirror. In this case, USA Today's anti-gun agenda was embarrassingly clear for anyone who cared to see it. The paper's editors were apparently afraid that the new Republican Congress would reverse all the gun control gains of 1994, so they did what they could to stop that reversal. Let me review how it all happened. Newsweek broke the Black Rhino didn't even believe the body armor story in its December 19 issue. On Piercing Black Rhino existed. Many December 27, after the Christmas holy newspapers around the country were day was over, USA Today made its move embarrassed, including the Associated by publishing a small story headlined, "On Press, themselves a major part of what the NRA has called a media feeding frenzy." Was this a case of bad journalism? Much. There was a small problem more than that. It was a case of trying to propagandize the American public and connected to the fearsome getting caught red-handed Black Rhino bullet. But the media weren't the only ones caught. The second and third legs of the Iron Triangle were salivating and sharpened. It was a hoax. Ing their knives when their turkey fell on the floor. Politicians like Charles Schumer sail soon, a bullet body armor can't stop, and Dianne Feinstein called for legislation, but then seemed to freeze in midst. In it we were told that Rhino ammo makes a bigger hole than Black Talonstons. The anti-gun lobby, including because 90% of each bullet breaks into favorites like Sarah Brady's handgun fragments. By comparison, only 10% of Control Incorporated and the Fraternal Order of Police were just beginning their usual deadly hollow points break off. But that was just the setup. The next demands for action. When the news broke day, USA Today launched a full-scale gun that there was no news. The Iron Triangle failed, but not scare issue, with no fewer than 10 articles, editorials, and charts on the subject. Because the Iron Triangle system doesn't least 12 times in that issue, the reader is work. It does. Together, the three can warned of coming attempts to roll back the whip things up in no time, everyone calling for emergency legislation, and pushing gun control legislation of the previous year, including the Brady bill and the IT over the top before the rest of the count assault rifle ban. Try knows what's really going on. The Iron So, with the 104th Congress only a few triangle failed because the media just days away from convening. USA Today's picked the wrong story to get public out. Headlines read, "New ammo for gun rage going. In the future maybe even debate." Perfect, right? Just when by the time you read this they find evatives are feeling their oats, You slime real story, some mass killing, and you'll get them with a cop killer bullet. Accepted to watch the three legs do their dance. Turned out that the bullet didn't work. Meanwhile, they all looked a bit silly, oops. That night, Nightline blew the especially USA Today. But don't kid your cover on the hoax and the whole thing fizz self, they'll be back the next time there's SLED. Apparently no one had bothered to an opportunity to create a little outrage. Check the story out. The BATF said they and a little legislation. After Dark page 3 feature article Can You Avoid the Next Plague? By David Kupeli and Bacteria Are Cleverer Than Men. Dr. Harold New, Columbia University, Cincinnati, Ohio, in a rare epidemic of pertussis, whooping cough, 352 cases were reported, compared with 542 cases in the previous 13 years. Furthermore, since most victims had been vaccinated, an unusually hardy strain of the pertussis bacterium might be emerging. Nationwide there were more than 6,500 cases, the largest number in the past quarter century. Medicine's purported triumph over infectious disease has become an illusion. Dr. Sherwin Newland, in his best-selling book, How We Die American Southwest, the rare hantavirus, once unknown in the U.S., emerged from deer mice to rapidly kill a number of people, mostly American Indians. The absence of media coverage since then has left the impression that this threat has vanished. But according to the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, ongoing investigations of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome document that the geographic distribution of this infection goes beyond the desert Southwest. Indeed, at least 30 people have died in as many as 20 states. Right now the microorganisms are winning. They're so much older than we are. And wiser. Dr. Richard Wenzel, University of Iowa. AIDS does not stand alone, it may well be just the first of the modern, large-scale epidemics of infectious disease. Lori Garrett from her book The Coming Plague. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the AIDS takes 10 years to kill its victim. The Ebola virus takes 10 hours. Richard I. Preston, author of The Hot Zone and The Hot Zone. Author Richard Preston describes the emergence of new or previously unknown diseases so dreadful that novelist Stephen King, the master of modern horror, calls the book one of the most horrifying things I've ever read in my whole life. The opening chapter describes how Charles Monet, a Frenchman residing in Africa, mysteriously contracted the Marburg virus, a tropical disease related to the dreaded Ebola. Monet deteriorated rapidly until, in the middle of the waiting room at Nairobi Hospital where he had gone for help, he crashed and bled out. That's military biohazard lingo for what happens when your internal organs, disintegrated and liquefied by the virus, along with massive amounts of blood, quite literally explode out of every body orifice, teeming with highly infectious and lethal viruses. The book is currently number 3 on the New York Times nonfiction bestseller list. No wonder. The subject of new dis nearly 400 young people, 30% of the student body of a high SCOL tested positive for tuberculosis, at least 12 of which were a drug-resistant variety. Eases increasingly worries a public faced with ever more frequent reports of new killer viruses, flesh-eating bacteria and the like. Perhaps even more disconcerting are reports of old diseases we thought we had conquered re-emerging from false extinction to wreak their biologic havoc on mankind. Some recent examples. Westminster, California, nearly 400 young people, 30% of the student body of a high school tested positive for tuberculosis, at least 12 of which were a drug-resistant variety of this extremely contagious disease. After Dark, page 4, spring of 1993, contamination of a municipal water supply with the intestinal parasite Cryptosporidium caused the largest outbreak of waterborne illness in American history. An estimated 403,000 Milwaukee residents had prolonged diarrhea, approximately 4,400 persons required hospitalization, and over 100 died because of the outbreak. Gloucestershire, England, an outbreak of the flesh-eating bacteria of tabloid fame, Streptococcus. The common bacteria THA cause strep throat generally produce no lasting harm if properly treated. but infections from certain virulent and lethal strains of Strep A claim thousands of lives annually in America and Europe alone. Emerging infectious diseases are defined by the CDC as diseases of infectious origin whose incidence in humans has either increased within the past 2 decades or threatens to increase in the near future. Since the early 70s, Americans have been plagued by many newly identified diseases and syndromes: AIDS, Legionnaire's disease, Lyme disease, toxic shock syndrome, hepatitis C virus, as well as a host of old, once-conquered microbial enemies. And the list is growing. Who's at risk? Most diseases have certain associated risk factors. The most widely publicized of these is AIDS. Despite valid concerns over casual transmission, and there are documented cases of this occurring, the vast majority of Americans and Europeans contracting AIDS are either male homosexuals or intravenous drug users. Heterosexual promiscuity and contaminated blood are 2 other major risk factors. Emerging infections transmitted by contaminated public water supplies, such as that in Milwaukee, are placing entire communities at risk. In point of fact, the municipal drinking water in most American cities is not processed in such a way that it can prevent an outbreak of cryptosporidium, since chlorination does not kill this microscopic cyst. Another entire community at risk is children in daycare, the numbers of which have skyrocketed in the past decade. According to the CDC, these kids, now numbering more than 11 million, are at a substantially increased risk for enteric infections, such as hepatitis A, giardiasis, and cryptosporidiosis, acute respiratory illnesses, and middle ear infections. Indeed, Dr. Harrison Spencer, chief of the CDC's Parasitic Diseases branch, told this writer that children in daycare are up to 18 times more likely to get sick than those not in daycare. And what of the nation's sick and elderly, who are especially vulnerable to infections? At least 6% of patients acquire an infection while they are in the hospital, so-called nosocomial infections. Nosocomial infections are the direct cause of 20,000 deaths annually, and they contribute to an additional 60,000, putting them among the 10 leading causes of death in the U.S. Even the once exotic tropical infectious diseases are today having an increasing effect on Americans. Recent examples include severe illness and at least 1 death due to cholera among international airline passengers arriving in California, malaria among residents of Southern California and immigrants in North Carolina, fever and heart failure in New York and Canada among patients who received blood transfusions contaminated with the blood-borne parasite, Trypanosoma cruzi, that causes Chagas disease in Latin America, and a newly described form of leishmaniasis among troops returning from the Persian Gulf conflict. Worldwide, the situation is even worse. The incidence of many diseases widely presumed to be under control, cholera, dengue, yellow fever, diphtheria, TB, has increased in many regions throughout the world. The danger is greatest, of course, in the underdeveloped world, where epidemics of cholera, dysentery, and malaria-among bacterial infections is diminishing, resulting in prolonged illnesses, higher mortality rate, and higher healthcare costs. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention: we have a tradition of prescribing antibiotics to anybody who looks sick. Dr. Lee Green, University A of Michigan. Number of influences have converged to promote today's alarming increase in infectious diseases. Incredibly, milk is allowed to addition to the traditional precursors of this contain a certain concentration of E's such as war, poverty, lack of sanitation, promiscuous or dangerous sexual 80 different antibiotics. All of this behavior, drug use, and poor diet, there are produces resistant germs in milk, factors unique to our time, drugs that suppress the immune system, unhealthful drinkers and meat eaters. Food processing, daycare facilities, environmental pollution, global air travel. But by far the most profound reason we are losing the war against the microbes is our almost incomprehensible overuse of antibiotics. For the last several decades, doctors have prescribed, patients have demanded, and farmers have fed antibiotics in a virtual orgy of mindless overuse. Seemingly we have been oblivious to the danger which has become today's reality, that drug-resistant strains would naturally and inevitably result from our misuse of yesterday's wonder drugs. It is not an exaggeration to say that, in general, doctors in America prescribe antibiotics indiscriminately, whether spawned by war, poverty, overcrowding, for instance, knowing weathering and poor sanitation. Just recently, for infection is bacterial or viral. Antibiotics example, cholera killed as many as 50,000, are ineffective against viral infections, people in the Rwandan refugee camps. Indeed, it is standard medical practice. Why, at the end of the millennium, is patients, for their part, demand antibiomedicine apparently losing so much otics, if their physician won't give it to ground in its fight against infectious them, they go a doctor who will. And when eases, they get their antibiotics. Patients typically don't finish the entire course, thereby ensuring that only the most susceptible, the myth of the magic bullet invaders, are killed off, leaving hardened survivors to flourish and spread throughout because of the widespread use the community. Farmers are also major abusers of and misuse of antimicrobial drugs, otics. Farm animals receive 30 times more their effectiveness in treating antibiotics than people do. Although they after dark, page 5, in Memphis, Tennessee and rural Kentucky. The disease had spread through daycare centers like wildfire, leaving toddlers with ear infections, pneumonia, and in 6 cases, meningitis. And while hospital-acquired infections are not new, widespread drug resistance is. In 1992, 13,300 hospital patients died of infections that resist Idaviri drug. Dr. Streed. Rip. 2I. The Andromeda strain. For the last several decades, doctors have prescribed, patients have demanded, and farmers have fed antibiotics in a virtual orgy of mindless overuse. Antibiotic usage has stimulated evolutionary change unparalleled in recorded biologic history. Dr. Stuart Levy of Tufts University. LF. Contributing factors to emergency of infectious diseases. The more you use antibiotics, the more rapidly Mother Nature adapts to them. Dr. George Kerlin, National Center for Allergy and Infectious Disease. Treat and prevent infections. The main reason farmers like antibiotics is that they also make cows, hogs, and chickens grow faster from each pound of feed, since the energy they would otherwise put into fighting infections goes into gaining weight. Unfortunately, bacteria in the cattle become resistant to the drugs, and when people drink milk or eat meat, this immunity may be transferred to human bacteria. Incredibly, milk is allowed to contain a certain concentration of 80 different antibiotics. All of this produces resistant germs in milk drinkers and meat eaters. And 1960s, when we had nothing to treat this infection, and the mortality rates were as high as drug-resistant microbes. Dr. Thomas Beam of the Buffalo, New York VA Medical Center. AIDS awakened us from our antibiotic-induced stupor, the belief that whatever ails us, just wait a little while and the drug companies will develop a magic bullet cure, and maybe a vaccine to boot. Hundreds of thousands of deaths later, and millions of HIV infections, each a virtual death sentence, later, medicine has made pathetically little progress in its pursuit of an effective AIDS treatment. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop there. AIDS seems to have ushered in a new era of multi-drug resistant, MDR, diseases. So, not only is tuberculosis on a terrifying rampage, especially in America's inner cities, the American Lung Association calls TB out of control, but drug-resistant TB now accounts for 1 in 7 new cases. In January 1994, the CDC reported an epidemic of drug-resistant pneumococcus. Medicine has 100+ antibiotics. Today, 40% of staff in hospitals have become resistant to every antibiotic but one of vancomycin. Worse, microbes have the scary ability to transfer resistance to each other. Experts believe that sooner or later vancomycin will also lose its effect on staff due to another microbe, Enterococcus. Currently, 20% of Enterococcus are resistant to vancomycin. Since staph and Enterococcus are often in proximity to each other, for instance, under a hospital bandage, it is only a matter of time before the unthinkable happens. When we know at some point vancomycin will succumb and the Staphylococcus bacteria will grow and proliferate unrestrained. It will be like the 1950s 80%. Germs change, to put it simply. While our antibiotics kill off most of the intended pathogens, the few that survive drug-resistant mutations reproduce. It's basic adaptation. But with microbes, the evolution of resistant strains is extremely rapid, since they can produce a new generation in 20 minutes, instead of several months for higher animals. Common staph, Staphylococcus aureus, has always been the bane of hospitals. Ubiquitous and very hardy, it used to kill thousands of hospital patients every year by infecting their surgical wounds and causing blood poisoning. But with the development of antibiotics, staph became far less problematic until recently. After Dark Page 6 societal events El Animus Impoveridolorment war or civil conflict, population growth and migration, urban decay healthcare new medical devices, organ or tissue transplantation, drugs causing immunosuppression, widespread use of antibiotics food production globalization of food supplies, changes in food processing, packaging and preparation human behavior sexual behavior, drug use, travel, diet, outdoor recreation, use of daycare facilities environment J.L. changes deforestation / reforestation, changes in water ecosystems, flood / drought, famine, global warming public health infrastructure curtailment or reduction of prevention programs, inadequate communicable disease surveillance, lack of trained personnel, example epidemiologists, laboratory scientists and vector and rodent control specialists, microbial adaptation and changes in virulence and toxin production, development of drug resistance, microbes as cofactors in chronic diseases source, CMTRs 4. Disease can blow and prevention staff becomes resistant to vancomycin, we will really have a problem, warns Dr. Richard Roberts of Cornell Medical School. Vancomycin is the last line. Time magazine recently summed it up this way, hospitals could become very dangerous places to go. Flying the friendly skies with Ebola possibly the worst plague in recorded human history was the flu pandemic of 1918. This super deadly strain of influenza infected half the world's population and killed 20 million. That summer and fall, people woke up tired and achy on Monday and were dead by the weekend. In Philadelphia and Baltimore, 1 out of 7 people died. And that was before international air travel. An estimated 403,000 if we were faced today with a new and Milwaukee residents had deadly strain of influenza, acutely infectious through the air, it could take just a prolonged diarrhea, approx a few days to cross the world and kill milmately 4,400 persons required lions of people within a short period. The hospitalization, and over 100 question is, will another super deadly strain, like the flu of 1918, appear again? Died because of the outbreak. Some researchers say it's like the question of whether California will experience a killer earthquake, the big one. It's not a question of if but when. They say that inevitably another deadly mutation will occur, and thanks to modern air travel this disease would spread far more quickly and efficiently than its 1918 pre-went ballistic when the Indian predecessor. To bring home the role air travel plays IC plague nearly landed on every continent spreading disease, consider that recently in just 2 days last year. Many a variant of one of the 3 most dead nations refused passengers and cargo from India. Tropical viruses ever discovered was the Ebola Reston affair illustrates found in the well-to-do Washington, OC suburb of Reston, Virginia. In its more how easily modern travel and global deadly form, Ebola kills 9 out of 10 PEO MERS can spread disease. Germs once PLE, as it did in African villages in Zaire 20 confined to certain regions may now years ago. Ebola Reston, as it came to hitchhike to all parts of the world. If we have learned anything from be called, surfaced in monkeys imported from Africa for medical research. After these examples, it is that emerging infections can affect people in a wide range of terrifying few days, military biohazard geographic areas, regardless of cultural experts concluded that this particular and ethnic background or socio-economic strain of Ebola, while lethal to monkeys, status was harmless to humans. Everyone involved was very relieved that it didn't jump to humans and mutate into a deadly Huatican form like Ebola Zaire. We lucked out that the public health infrastructure is insufficiently prepared to confront today's airline travelers, human, and today's emerging disease problems, animal, unwittingly transport deadly dis. This is not the criticism of some anti-eases all over the world, all in a matter of establishment medical quack, it is the days, even hours. World Health Official CDC's own assessment of just how help after dark, page 7 less the medical establishment is in dealing with emerging diseases. Domestic surveillance systems for most infectious diseases are inadequate, continues the CDC, and global surveillance is fragmentary at best. For example, foodborne and waterborne disease outbreaks may be either unrecognized or detected late, and the magnitude of the problem of antimicrobial drug resistance is unknown. For example, in 12 of the 50 states surveyed, no professional position is dedicated to surveillance of foodborne and waterborne diseases. Although the CDC has developed a strategy to attempt to address these microbial threats, involving increased surveillance, research, prevention, and control programs, and enhanced public health infrastructure, as a practical matter it is probably not wise to expect the government to keep you from getting sick. The big three: if there is a positive side to this otherwise morbid scenario, it is that there is a great deal that individuals can do to help safeguard themselves and their loved ones against most infectious diseases. Virtually all experts agree that there are three primary elements necessary to staying healthy and preventing disease: good diet, exercise, and positive mental attitude. Diet: despite what many diet books say, no one diet is right for everyone, because of the major differences in people's metabolism. You have to read and experiment until you find what works best for you. However, the following applies to everybody: if possible, eat meat and poultry that has been raised without the use of antibiotics and growth hormones. The same goes for milk and milk products. Try to obtain organically grown produce. Avoid junk food. Research the subject yourself and come to your own conclusions. A word about water: get a high-quality point-of-use water purifier, one that can remove not only disease-producing organisms like Cryptosporidium, but chlorine, lead, asbestos, and pesticides as well. Chlorination has been strongly linked to several types of cancer, so it's best to remove it before you drink your tap water. Plague continued on page 13. FTERD ARC.6 Pre-Dreamland in-depth explorations of subjects and guests featured 5ENT5 The On Art Bell's Report weekly radio program Dreamland, Nostradamus. AIDS and Our Future by John Hogue. He will be dishonored by other rumors asphalus feigning. When the 19th century French met and Saint-Lian Bell's guest was John Hogue, Eichel pioneer Louis Pasteur first suggested one of the world's foremost authorities on that diseases were caused by bacteria and Nostradamus. Hogue's just-released book Nostradamus, The New Revelations deals other germs. He was subject to spiteful attacks from the medical establishment with the seer's predictions about our own time, his day. Once his theories had been and our future proved, however, he was hailed by his, although the world knows him as a 16th contemporaries, as a demigod. Century French prognosticator who accurately Nostradamus correctly dates the established foresaw events hundreds of years off, meant of the Institut Pasteur by reference. Nostradamus was, in his day, also a renown to the last great lunar cycle which ran scholar, gourmet, chemist, and physician, who from 1535 to 1889, the year Pasteur saved thousands from the Black Plague by prescribing her and Alatra FMH air and unpolluted water. According to Hogue, Michel de Nostradam, his pen name, accurately foresaw England's Civil War, the French Revolution, World War II, the Kennedy assassinations, the Chernobyl tragedy, and the end of the Cold War. Hogue shows how Nostradamus also predicted that the 1990s would be a time of unprecedented social strife, disease, ethnic wars, ecological disaster, and change, and explains how the seer's predictions apply to such contemporary phenomena as the California earthquakes, the Gulf War, and subject of this article, AIDS and other deadly diseases. The following was excerpted from Nostradamus, the new revelations by special permission of the author for publication in After Dark. According to Nostradamus' predictions, the plague may spread over half the world and kill 2/3 of humanity. The lost thing, hidden for many centuries, is discovered. Pasteur will be honored as a demigod. This happens when the moon completes her great cycle. A very great plague, with a great scab in century 3, quatrain 75, Nostradamus may have predicted the spread of AIDS through France, Italy, and Spain, swords damp with blood from distant lands. A very great plague will come with a great scab. Relief near but the remedies far away. Scientists working in both America and at the Institut Pasteur in France were able to identify the retrovirus associated with AIDS very quickly. Photographs taken under the microscope reveal a virus chillingly close to the prophet's term gosset, which means scab. Also, one symptom of AIDS is a rare skin cancer which covers the body in purple scabs. In the language of magic, the sword is the symbol of the male phallus. Here the word may portray the male phallus as the chief vector in the spread of AIDS. In his fight against the bubonic plague, Nostradamus employed medical techniques which were centuries ahead of his time, and there has been much speculation as to whether he was able to use his prophetic skills to save lives. Particular interest has been shown in quatrain 25 of century 1, where the prophet writes, used in folk medicine as a slang term for lymphatic fluids and semen, blood as the vitality giver or the immune system, and all viral diseases were blamed on frogs. In the light of this alternative reading of the prophecy, the riddle becomes a description of the modern plague, AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, which is passed from victim to victim chiefly through blood, semen, or intravenous drug use. Institute was set up. It may have been Nostradamus' interest in medicine which prompted his visions of a future plague of the blood. He refers to this disease as one that will rain milk, blood, and frogs. In Nostradamus' 16th century world, milk was often after. Dar.k page 8. The spread of AIDS. Scientists investigating the origins of the AIDS virus have traced it back to a virus afflicting green monkeys in Central Africa as far back as 1945. These monkeys probably passed the virus by biting each other and humans. Over the next 4 decades the disease /J1Lij spread throughout Africa. The virus is then thought to have moved into North America and Europe via Haitian laborers employed in Zaire in the early 1960s through to the mid-1970s. The disease surfaced first in the homosexual community, then in other sections of society, and over 9,500 fatalities were recorded between 1979 and 1986 in America alone. The worldwide estimate of infected victims stands at over 10 million. As the prophet says, relief for AIDS sufferers has been near thanks mainly to the fast isolation of the virus, which enabled medical scientists to produce drugs such as AZT and 001. These drugs, however, only slow down the effect of the virus on the immune system, and in 1993 AIDS activists branded AZT as little more than a placebo. Sadly, we do not yet have a cure for AIDS. The most optimistic estimates project little progress in the search for a remedy before the year 2000. There is also a strong possibility that new and virulent forms of the disease will mutate just as a cure becomes possible. In 1990, Sir Donald Acheson, the British government's chief medical officer, predicted 100 years' war against AIDS before it is eradicated. According to Nostradamus' predictions, the plague may spread over half the world and kill 2/3 of humanity before a vaccine is finally ready. Relief near, but the remedies far away. In 1987, many criticized Nostradamus and the millennium for its alarming interpretations of Nostradamus concerning the apocalyptic threat of AIDS. Unfortunately, as we approach the 1990s, those dire forecasts sound all too plausible as 20th century statistics catch up with the augury of the 16th century doctor. Late 1980s estimates of 20 million infected with the AIDS virus by the end of the century are proving to be far short of the actual infection rate. The early 90s has seen a dramatic and more widespread incidence of the disease. It has spread out of Africa to affect many other countries and is now appearing in the heterosexual mainstream. Shocking estimates released in 1992 from Harvard University's School of Public Health suggest that the infection from AIDS will spiral out of control by the first decade of the next century and that 110 million adults and 10 million children will be infected by the year 2000. There is no guarantee that even these numbers are correct, as the disease seems to be spreading faster than the data collectors can compute them. The Harvard report estimates the current rate of infection to be 5,000 people per day and, until recently, the fastest infection rate was in Africa. Now the disease is spreading fastest in South Asia. In Bombay's red light district, male laborers are contracting AIDS from a prostitute community with the highest per capita infection rate in the world. From Bombay, the transient laborers return to their wives and families, exposing the vast population of rural India to AIDS. The Bombay red light district is also the plague staging ground for a huge increase of AIDS in the Middle East, as many wealthier Arab clients, college students, and cheap laborers working in India are carrying the virus back to their wives and families at home. If these trends continue, the situation in South Asia could, by the early 21st century, parallel that of Uganda, with 20% of the population. Shocking estimates released in 1992 from Harvard University's School of Public Health suggest that the infection from AIDS will spiral out of control by the first decade of the next century. Exposed to AIDS. Southeast Asia, North Africa and the Middle East could all go the way of Uganda by the 2020s. In the deadly, rapid spread of AIDS and mankind's inability, so far, to fight it, we see the mathematics of a doomsday plague rise to meet Nostradamus' threat of 2/3 of humanity falling prey to this terrible scourge during the next century. Current medical research shows AIDS to be transmitted primarily through anal intercourse and blood-on-blood and sperm-on-blood contact. According to this research, the highest first-world risk group is the homosexual community. The second largest high-risk group includes drug users sharing needles, hemophiliacs, and others needing blood products. AIDS is thought to have been carried to the Western Hemisphere by Haitians returning from regular employment in Central Africa, where the disease is transmitted through the heterosexual community by prostitution, ritual blood rites, scarification, and doctors at impoverished rural medical centers reusing needles. New revelations also show that prostitution dark page 9 is becoming a major bridge of AIDS transmission to the heterosexual communities of the developed world. The gravity of this development can be seen in the story of a male prostitute living in the conservative Midwestern American city of St. Paul, Minnesota in 1986. Upon discovering that he had AIDS, the man held a press conference on television so that his clients could recognize him and get tested for the disease in private. The AIDS sufferer admitted that he had had intercourse with 1,000 married men with families in the previous 12 months. It is possible that tens of thousands of similar cases exist throughout America and Europe. New evidence also frighteningly points to another possible source of infection. Although dentists steam clean their dental tools in an autoclave, it has been proved that simple disinfection of dental equipment will leave 20% of the bacteria hidden in the microscopic pitting of tools. At the time of this writing, tests and findings to discover how many AIDS viruses survive the disinfecting process are slow in coming. The U.S. government states that all American dentists are ordered to carry out regular steam sterilization with an autoclave, but several secret investigations with hidden cameras have shown that this regulation is often ignored. Dentists who have been shown by these investigations to be lax in the sterilization of their dental tools say that the autoclave is hard on the equipment, necessitating more expensive replacements. In the developed world, this problem could be solved by a $10 to $20 increase on the average dental bill. Accepted Revelations with Paination from Nostradamus, the New by John Hogue, Chapter 11, Plague of Blood, pages 169 to 174 bits and pieces. 0 News Short takes high-priced gun control. Sheriff Richard Mack, the Arizona lawman who successfully sued the federal government over the Brady Bill and its mandatory waiting period, has unearthed a bombshell of an internal document from Handgun Control Inc. It details what appears to be Handgun Control's plans for implementing the gradual elimination of private gun ownership in America. Handgun Control has since disavowed the document. Very simply, handgun your tax dollars at work. Control is betting that an elaborate license the National Endowment for the Arts Inc. system will tax most gun owners out of strikes again. This time it is funding and their guns. As published in Mac's 1994 exhibit by artist Bruce Nauman, book, From My Cold Dead Fingers, Why described by the Washington Times as 60 America Needs Guns, the box at Rightcon works in video, voice, neon, holography, contains a partial summary of the fiscal impact pornography, more pornography, and PROF licensing firearms ownership under version. Displayed at Washington, Handgun Control's alleged plan. D.C.'s famous Hirshhorn Museum, the Here Is How HCI justifies such a huge tax exhibition includes, on firearms, homoerotic clowns. The erections. This cost is not unreasonable, since it blink on and off in neon. Would offset considerable estimated $60. Four-letter profanity. The obvious $1 billion in medical and social costs relat words in neon. Add to gun violence. If a gun enthusiast feels a film of the artist painting he needs such firepower, it is not unreasonable torso in oil paint. Able to require him to provide the money. Learned helplessness in rats necessary to offset the cost to society of such, rock and roll drummer, a dark firepower. Ultimately such action would take end gallery with ear-splitting solo the glamour and attraction out of firearms drums, while a video projector sends up ownership and decreaseth the numbers of gun alternate images of a hysterical rat up owners in the US to a manageable number close sniffing through a see-through maze. Predictions, Harry Schultz, listed in Carousel. Macabre cross between the Guinness Book of Records for the past a slaughterhouse and a merry-go-round. 14 years as the world's highest paid financial advisor at $2,400 an hour, is making some startling predictions for 1995. Among them, President Clinton will resign by June, 1995. After rallying strongly, U.S. 30-year Treasury bonds will resume their decline, causing global chaos due to the ripple effect on world bond and stock markets. Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes will choke off U.S. economic recovery in mid-year. Gold bullion and bullion coins will outperform gold shares. Euro-federalism will collapse. EC citizenry reject one nation Maastricht Treaty concept. Japan will sidestep making trade concessions to the U.S. and shift its trade emphasis ever further into Asia. John Major will be replaced as Britain's Prime Minister. After Dark. Page 10. Violent incident. 12 TV monitors show scenes of an abusive couple fighting. Clown torture. A dark, claustrophobic room is filled with the sounds of a clown shrieking, "No! No!" After Dark's Hasn't Got a Clue award for 1994 goes to Democratic advisor Tony Coelho, for his analysis of why the Democrats lost big in November. I think the Reagan announcement Friday about his Alzheimer's disease is basically what did it, Coelho said in the January 2, 1995 New and Public. We were scoring on Reaganomics. But we were being very careful not to attack Reagan the man. Our polling showed the numbers were moving with us. But when he announced he had Alzheimer's, it was all over the evening news. And the country reacted. All of a sudden sympathy set in for the guy. I think it really stopped us. I don't know what else could have happened. IJ. Coco CT de FLFLFLFLGAGAGA Hi IA Juno KINY Anchorage Ken 550 Fairbanks Kodiak Seward Cordova Bermanel Ham Huntsville Tuscaloosa Globe Safford Phoenix Tucson San Francisco Monterey Grass Valley San Diego, Palm Springs, Yucca Valley Santa Barbara Bakersfield Santa Maria Paso Robles Fresno Merced Santa Rosa Sacramento Chico Quincy Redini, Denver Leesboro, Sarasota Sprinell, Albany Gainesville Dalton Honolulu Ottumwa KFAR 660 KJJZ 101.1 KVOK 5660 KSWD 950 KLAM 1450 WYDE 850 WVNN 770 WTNW 1230 KJM 1240 Kato 1230 KFYI 910 KTVC 1400 KSFO 560 KNRY 1240 KNCO 830 KOGO 600 KNWZ 1270 KNWZ 106 KQSB 990 KNZR 1560 KSMA 1240 KPRL 1230 KMJ 580 KYOS 1480 KSRO 1350 KSTE 650 KPAY 1060 KPCO 1370 KQMS 1400 KTLK 760 KNUS 710 WAVZ 1300 WGMD 92.7 KFOY 1240 KQBQ 1410 WKXY 930 WWTK 730 WALG 1590 KDVN 550 KLSQ 1430 KHVH 830 Clay 1480 LA MA MIMIMIMNMN MNMO MO 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 MS MT 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 NC 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 NE 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 NH NM 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 NV NV New York New York New York O New Orleans Northampton Sault Ste. Marie Muskegon Flint Brainerd Umina St. Cloud Duluth Columbia Kansas City Cape Girardeau St. Louis Washington Greenville Billings Missoula Missoula Helena Bozeman Shelby Chapel Hill Fuquay-Varina Fayetteville Southern PNs Jacksonville Lincoln Omaha Scottsbluff Manchester Santa Fe Albuquerque Roswell Las Vegas Reno Jamestown Utica Amsterdam Youngstown Waddy 1280 WHMP 1400 WKNW 1400 WKBZ 850 WFNT 1470 WWWI 1270 KW NO 1230 KNSI 1450 WEBC 560 KFRV 1400 KCMO 810 KZIN 960 WKBQ 1380 KLPW 1220 WGVM 1260 KBLG 910 KGVO 1290 KLCY 930 KCAP 1340 KMMS 1450 WADA 1390 WCHL 1360 WCRY 990 WFNC 640 WEB 990 WLAS 910 CLIN 1400 KFAB 1110 Colt 1320 WGIR 610 KVSF 1260 KHTL 920 KBIM 910 KDWN 720 KOH 780 WJTN 1240 WIBX 610 WCSS 1490 WKBN 570 PAP APASC SC 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 SDT NT 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 XT 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 XVT VT 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 WA 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 WI 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 IL Boise St. Mary's Keto KOFE 630 124000 Mansfield Affiliate Update Springfield WMAN 1400 WBLY 161150 Oklahoma City Portland Eugene Baker City WKYKEXKPN WKBKR La Grande Tillamook KLBM 1450 KBMD 1590 New Haven Rehoboth Street AUL Austin 800 * radio stations that carry CBC programs as of March 1, 95. Pick up Art on your way home, where you can find Coast to Coast AM and Dreamland ILILILIL Rockford Etoa Peru Morton WNTA 102.3 WTAZ 102.3 OK or ILIL Champale, Enspernell, Field WKTW 93.5 WMAY 970 or IIL /KSKSKSI Heron Wichita Arkansas City Liberal WJPF KFLL KSOK KSCB 1340 1330 1280 1270 or Coos Bay or Medford or Klamath Falls or Bend KRSR KOPE KAGOKBND 106.5 103.5 1150 1110 IKS. KSALWLXGWRVSWOMI 1150 1300 610 *1490 or PAPAPAKTBRWAEBWAYCWFLP 950 790 1310 *1330 III Salina KY Lexington, Ton KY Russellville KY Owensboro WCMY 1430 Roseburg Allentown Bedford Erie After Dark page 11930 1190 1120 1490 Oil City Beaver Falls Phillipsburg Spartanburg Greenville Columbia Sumter Charleston Sioux Falls Jackson Memphis Murfreesboro Austin San Antonio El Paso Houston Salt Lake City Blanding Cedar City Burlington Brattleboro Bellingham Seattle Wenatchee Moses Lake Yakima Pullman Spokane Tri-Cities Goldendale Madison Kenosha Fond du Lac West Bend Stevens Point La Crosse Janesville Green River WOYL WBVP WPHB Word WFBC WVOC WSSC WTMZ KSOO WTJS WMC WGNS KFON WOAI KTSM KTRH KCN RKVTA KSUB WVMT WKVT KGM IKV IKP 9 KRSN Kudi K999 KGA Kona KLC KWTDY WLIP KFIZ WBKV WSPOWIZM WCLOKUGR 1340 1230 1260 910 1330560 1340 1250 1140 1390 790 1450 1490 1200 1380 740 1320 790 590 *620 1490 790 570 560 1470 980 650 1510 610 1400 1480 1050 1450 1470 1010 1410 1230 1490 Dreamland. Only the demand for Dreamland continues to build, and thanks to you we are close to our 10th affiliate F4th show. Only through the constant pressure of your well-written letters to local stations can a once-a-week program boast such a list. If your local talk station is still not carrying Dreamland, please write them again. If live in the Bay Area, please do the same for KSFO at 900 Front Street San Francisco, 94111. We are thrilled that they now carry Coast to Coast, but would love to add the Sunday show as well. Attention St. Louis, thanks to your support we are now on WKBO 1380. However, I know that many of you are having trouble picking up the signal. There are many reasons for these. WKBO is asking the FCC if they can up their power at night, and we hope they are successful. If it weren't for them we wouldn't be on in St. Louis with Art and Roger at all. Thanks for all your support. Behind the scenes, Art pushes the button. By Alan Corbett, President, CBC. More and more letters have been pouring in from listeners. Curious listeners. People who actually cannot sleep at night, or in the day as the case may be with Art's listeners, until they know the real truth behind what makes the Art Bell program happen from a technical perspective. Being an engineer myself, I can relate to the cold sweats and sleepless nights that go along with the age-old question, how do they do that? Pick your question, I'll give away the magic. A. Art can't be taking all the calls himself, can he? B. You guys play the commercials, don't you? C. You can't possibly expect Art to watch his own levels, take callers, do commercials, etc. Can you? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take you through a night of sitting in with Art, plus you'll be magically transported to our Technical Operations Center, TOC, in Medford, Oregon. Let's start the night at around 7:30 p.m. in the Pacific Time Zone. Average people are eating dinner and watching Wheel of Fortune. Art is just waking up. Usually he checks his VCRs, showers, and has dinner with his wife, Ramona. Sometime between 8 o'clock and 9 p.m., when I'm winding down from a long day at the network, Art is just winding up. Not a night goes by when one of us can't resist picking up the phone and calling the other just to check in and touch base. We talk about new developments that occurred during the afternoon, and I update Art on how various projects are coming along. One common problem within the communications business is that in our zeal and fervor to communicate with everybody else out there, we forget to communicate with each other. Happens all the time. Anyway, we do the best we can to avoid falling into this trap. Oh yeah, Art, I forgot to tell you. I'm doing an article on how you actually do the show. After the daily calling ritual, Art gets back to his VCR ritual where he catches up on the breaking news stories of the day. As you know, Art has an uncanny way of sifting through all the news and honing right in on the meat of the day's events, which he delivers to all of us during his monologue. Sometime around 1:30 p.m. he enters his studio to organize all his material on the desk in front of him. To Art it's perfect order. To you and me, it looks like the neighborhood recycling center. In that pile of paper, Art has his commercial log with all the commercials and the times they will play that night. He makes sure he has all the proper scripts in order and the proper commercial cartridges ready. At around 10:45 he switches on the Ku-band digital uplink located in back of his house and calls into Medford for an audio and signal check. In Medford, board operator extraordinaire Tony Howell, if you want some real behind-the-scenes stuff, we call her Little Tony Howell, LTH for short, is engaged in producing and operating all the technical equipment. If Art worked with a board operator or engineer at 1i1 Isami location, I honestly feel it would hurt 1i1 show. Art could slop smoking cigarettes with greater ease 1i1 and to trust another WAN body with his engineering. For the show already in progress. By the way, it's the Roger Ferdinberg Show, radio's regular guy heard on many of the Chancellor RRN affiliates. Anyway, when everything is up and running, Art calls Tony and asks her to check out how everything sounds on our end, where we uplink the show to the satellite. Thank God, things generally sound fine, and Art is almost ready to take off. By 10:45 PST Art dials up the Chancellor/TRN channel on his satellite receiver and listens in on the full crescendos of Big Roger's show. Raj signs off, the news comes on at the top of the hour, and Art listens for the 1-minute break for the local stations. After that, it's showtime. Back in Medford, the technical shift just changed. LTH heads home for the night and either Alex Joyce or Aim Beard bring up Art's fader and hit the record button to immortalize the show until we recycle the tape. During the initial first minutes of the broadcast, all systems in the broadcast chain are carefully monitored. Levels are adjusted. The entire distribution system is listened to, and corrected if necessary. In Nevada, Art hits his CD player and the opening strains of Midnight Express, his theme music, are heard all over this great nation of ours. For you purists, it's called Chase, the FLIST track on the album. With that, Art is literally on his own for the next 22 minutes and 50 seconds. The entire show is under the control of Art After Dark page 12 and Art alone. He decides where to read his live commercials. He actually presses the buttons. He brings up the faders. He plays pre-recorded spots. At about 28 minutes past the hour, Art brings up music and closes down the FLICE segment of the show. While Art sifts through the recycling center on his desk, Medford takes over and fades the music to its exact time. The technician initiates two automated tone systems, one subaudable, and the other, called DTMF, which is audible. That one is the beep you can hear sometimes. These systems tell the various stations that are operating with automation systems when to start their local segments, when to play commercials, where to identify their stations as required by the FCC each half hour, and when to rejoin the network. This space is actually designated for local stations to play their commercials for local businesses. Medford also graces the network airwaves with PSAs, public service announcements. As I said, most stations break away to do their own thing, but if a station chooses not to do so, or if their automation system malfunctions, we want to supply something with some redeeming social value, and not the dreaded fear of all broadcasters everywhere, dead air. Back in Pahrump, at 34 minutes past the hour, Art plays his intro music and Medford fades it up. They check audio quality, adjust the levels, make certain that the show is still being recorded, and the CBC juggernaut is back under the influence and total control of Art. Although we cut loose with the following statement all the time, it still seems to surprise people. So sit down. Art is not your regular guy. After all, that's why we all listen to him, isn't it? Among many other things, Art is very much an engineer. For Art to look at his own meters, make the necessary adjustments, play in his own commercial spots, and punch up his own collars is as natural to him as smoking his cigarettes. It is an addiction and an obsession. If Art worked with a board operator or engineer at the same location, I honestly feel it would hurt the show. Art could stop smoking cigarettes with greater ease than to trust another warm body with his engineering. Art is a consummate engineer. RBCU's Art can work all on his own, he can pace the show according to the mood and theme of the night. During his second segment, Art pushes the button continued on page 14. Angry and resentful, you're probably going to get sick. And if you do get sick, you will along with a healthful diet. Experts probably need modern medicine to help agree that nutritional supplementation, most likely with a quick prescription, is extremely important in this for antibiotics. Clearly, then, the best medicine is free of devitalized, processed, chemical invention. In truth, when all is said and fertilized, additive-laden and irradiated foods. Not only will vitamins, minerals, and all it providence or call it luck herbs help compensate for lack of nutrients those who live right, those who do all the in food, they are also critical to building up right things and avoid the wrong things. The immune system and proactively seem to come out just fine, and somehow mysteriously avoid the plagues and misfortecting yourself against disease. Popular books such as Prescription Fortunes that befall others around them. A final note, If AIDS has served as a nutritional healing by James F. Balch, MD provide detailed lists of vitamin, mineral, warning about intravenous drug abuse and herbal supplements helpful for specific certain types of sexual practices, then this conditions, and for improving immunity in emerging age of new and deadly diseases is pushing us all toward an attitude we general probably should have had all along, name exercise, virtually all recognizedly, of taking responsibility for our own lives. Experts agree that a good and health for research aerobic workout, at least 20 minutes a day. 3 Dr. Harrison Spencer, chiefing what's good to eat and what's not, and then times a week walking, of the CDC's parasitic putting that knowledge biking, swimming, etc. into practice. 4 Can dramatically improve diseases. Branch told this researching which nutri your health, energy level, writer that children nutritional supplements are and general feeling of well-being. Along with daycare are up to 18 times helpful, and taking exercise, sufficient sleep more likely to get sick than them. 4 Discontinuing is also a must. Are debilitating personal those not in daycare. Mental attitude, relationships. 4 Exercising and never stop. Mental depression is known to result in a suppressed immune ping. Exercising If enough people lived system response just one more reason this way, perhaps the world's government's positive frame of mind is vital to one's well would catch on and urge people in this being. Anger, either expressed or subdirection, instead of keeping them hoping pressed, is directly related to many stress and praying forever to the god of medicine-related conditions and is believed to come up with yet another magic bullet. Promise immune function. Therefore some sort of quiet time, meditation, or reflect physician quotations from Time, Revenge of the Killer Tiv introspection is considered extremely microbes, September 12, 1994, and Newsweek, valuable. Antibiotics, The End of Miracle Drug Slow, March 28, 1994. Connected to positive mental attitude is the avoidance of disease-causing prick about the author, David Kupelian is editor Tice's, Drug Abuse and Homosexual Acts of After Dark and former managing editor of, AIDS, as well as Drinking, Smoking, the award-winning news magazine, New Overeating, and the like. Plague continued from page 7, A. Dimensions, the psychology behind the news. Conclusion: it's no joke anymore. After all, this is the end of the millennium. You never know. Hey, an apocalypse might sneak up and bite you on the tail. If you don't eat right, you're probably going to get sick. If you don't exercise, you're probably going to get sick. If you live an immoral lifestyle, if you're a nervous wreck or a worrywart, or if you're very after dark. Page 13 Coast Program 93061930C931130C931123C931208 C9408C940312C940318C Friday. JJPM 4 AM Pacific. Guest and topic: Ghost Show Linda Thompson / Waco I Richard Hoagland / Mars Observer Linda Thompson / Waco 2 Charles Duke / Sovereignty Measure Lori Toy / Prophesize and New Age 940427CL. Thompson and Agent X / Waco 4940429C Mark McCandlish / UFOs Program 5 hours 5 hours 5 hours 3 hours 4 hours 5 hours 4 hours 5 hours $25 940227D Raymond Moody 940306D Linda Howe $19.50 $25.50 $26.50 $25.50 $26.50 940327D Dr. Richard Goldberg 940403D Bud Hopkins / Alien Abductions March 27, 94 3 hours. April 3, 94 3 hours 940410D 940417D April 10, 94 April 17, 94 3 hours April 8, 94 April 15, 94 2 hours 3 hours $13.50 $19.50 940424D Richard Hoagland 940501D Phil Klass and Stone Friedman April 24, 94 May 1, 94 3 hours April 27, 94 5 hours $26.50 April 29, 94 5 hours $26.50 940508D 940515D 940522D 940529D 9406005D 9406122D John Ronner / Guardian Angels Mike Rigby / Near Death Experience Sally Rail UFOs Tom Van Flanderer / Astronomy RW Whitfield / Polar Shift Richard Hall UFOs May 8, 94 May 15, 94 OS/22 94 OS/29 94 June 5, 94 June 12, 94 333333 940619D 940626D Archetsno / Out of Body Dr. Bruce McCabe / UFOs 06 19 943 hours June 26, 94 3 hours October 30, 93 November 23, 93 December 8, 93 January 8, 94 $26.50 $26.50 940502 CL Thompson / Waco V, Revolution I May 2nd, 94 2 hours $13.50 94050 C 3 hours $19.50 3 hours 3 hours 3 hours 5 hours 2 hours 5 hours $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $26.50 $13.50 $26.50 Ron Engelman / Waco 94051 LC Wally Kennett / Branch Davidian 94052 C David Aikman / Revolution 940-527 C 940-607 C 940-608 C 940-610 C 940-623 C May 6th, 94 May 11th, 94 OS/20/94 Preston Nichols Montauk Project OS/27/94 Richard Hoagland Mars June 7th, 94 Vance Davis GI/Ouija Predictions June 8th, 94 Sean Morton Predictions June 10th, 94 Sheriff Arpaio Citizens Posse June 23rd, 94 Kevin Randall UFO Crash at Roswell 06/24 94 Professor McDaniels Michael Linderman Stalker Hunt Ouija Board Mark McCandlish 940703D Michael Linderman Aliens 940710D Richard Hoagland The Moon $13.50 940717D $13.50 $13.50 $19.50 $26.50 $19.50 $26.50 $13.50 $13.50 $13.50 $19.50 940724D John Zajic Great Pyramid 940731D Linda House UFOs and Aliens 940807D Sean Morton UFOs 940814D John Max Alien Abductions 941003C 941005C 941028C J Wilkerson, J Vasquez KGTV UFO 10/03/94 2 hours Wendy Dachau Alien Abductee October 5th, 94 1 hour Annual Ghost Show No Guest, 10/28/945 hours $13.50 $7.50 $26.50 941111 C Lindsay Williams New Diseases 941115 C John Hogue Prophecy November 11th, 94 5 hours November 15th, 94 5 hours $26.50 $26.50 941130 C 11/30/943 hours $19.50 941209 C Richard Hoagland Mars and Moon 941214 C George Flint Nevada Brothels December 9th, 94 5 hours December 14th, 94 3 hours $26.50 $19.50 950127 C January 27th, 95 Congressman Bob Dornan 940320D 2 hours Larry Nichols Clinton Chronicles June 30th, 94 Robert Pappalardo Jupiter Collision July 15th, 94 Richard Hoagland Jupiter Collision July 18th, 94 Don McAlvany Being Prepared August 31st, 94 John Lear UFO September 2nd, 94 Larry Pratt Gun Owners of America September 7th, 94 Don Schmidt The Truth About Roswell 09/09/94 Russ Wagner Virtual Reality September 12th, 94 D. Artusberg HIV Not Koshov AIDS 09/13/94 Use are convenient. 940313D 2 hours 2 hours 3 hours 5 hours 3 hours 5 hours 2 hours 2 hours 2 hours 3 hours 940624 C 940630 C 940715 C 950718 C 94083 L C 940902 C 940907 C 940909 C 940912 C 940913 C Bob Fletcher Montana Militia, Joe PM Pacific Coast AI Bielek 11/Philadelphia Experiment 03/12/94 Linda Thompson Waco 3 March 18th, 94 940408 C 940415 C Live Sundays 7 p.m. Guest and Topic Hours Date AI Bielek Philadelphia Experiment June 19th, 93 John Lear, UFO September 4, 93 Annual OREAMLAND with Art Bell to Coast AM with Art Bell Live. Monday 1 hour $7.50 order form on page 15 for tape orders. 1-800-917-4278 Robert Monroe / out of body date hours February 27, 94 March 6, 94 3 hours March 13, 94 3 hours 03/20//4 3 hours July 3, 94 July 10, 94 3 hours July 17, 94 3 hours July 24, 94 July 31, 94 August 7, 94 3 hours August 14, 94 3 hours 940821 DDR Carla Turner / alien abductions August 21, 94 3 hours 940904 D Dr. Goldberg / past life regression September 4, 94 940,911 D Ropt Whitfield / planetary physics September 11, 94 940918 D David Scott I Life After Death September 18, 94 3 hours 3 hours 940925 D 941002 D 941016 D 3 hours 940828 D Kevin Randall. Crash at Roswell August 28, 94 Rich. Boylan / alien abduction September 25, 94 Mark Davenport / time travel October 2, 94 Sky Ambrose / alien abductee October 16, 94 941023 DB and A Kirkwood / SI. Mary's message 10 /23 /94 941030 D Leah Ellie / alien abductee October 30, 94 941106 D Katharina Wilson / alien abductee November 6, 94 941113 D Jim Deerdorf / ETS and the Bible March 27, 94 941120 D Dave Talbot / Worlds in Collision November 20, 94 3 hours 941204 D Randolph Winters / the Pleiadians December 4, 94 3 hours 941211 DDR. Chet Snow / life after death 12 /11 943 hours 941218 D Dr. Raymond Moody / afterlife 12 /18 943 hours 950108 D Stanton Friedman / UFOs January 8, 95 3 hours 950115 D Rich. Sauter / underground bases January 15, 95 3 hours 950122 D Scallion and Linderman / predictions January 22, 95 3 hours 950129 D Daryl Sim / investigator of UFOs January 29, 95 3 hours 950205 D Sean Morton / predictions February 5, 95 3 hours cost $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 dollar. $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 $19.50 Visa and MasterCard call 1-800-917-4278 or mail check or money order to CBC 744 East Pine Street, Central Point, Oregon 97502, Art pushes the button continued, plays his national commercials, deals with the callers, and takes the show up to 57 minutes and 50 seconds after the hour. At this point we go back to Medford where the encoding tones are entered, PSAs are played, and a 5-minute national newscast is supplied by Chancellor Broadcasting. This exercise continues for 4 more hours every night. By the time Art has left the studio, had a good stretch, and is fixing himself something to eat, the technician in Medford takes the tape of the first 2 hours of the show and refeeds them back to the network. Thus, every night we supply 5 hours of live radio, and every morning, 2 Art Bell show comes together. If you could hours of refeeds, giving 7 hours of Art care less and just enjoy the show, great you Bell each night for a hour listening pleasure. Are free. You can relax and enjoy a phenom. What happens if, in the course of the non-like the Art Bell show at the face value of night, we need to contact Art immediately? What it is, a great radio show. Join me in future issues of After Dark. He's doing the show, the lines are jammed, it's the middle of the night but we are pre when I will try to give you a feel of how we paired. There's a special hotline number go about getting affiliates, how we as a small that reaches a telephone located right next to but rapidly expanding network are actually him. It's our little red phone, it's the audio setup, and, of course, the question para backdoor to Art's place. Not even my wife mount in everyone's mind, does the governors this number, so don't ask. We also use meant really tell us what to say. This line to let Art know if there have been. Until next time, I wish you good listening, any difficulties with the network or problems and hope you're getting some sleep. But not too much. We don't want to lose our Audi with any oft affiliates. There you have it folks. This is how the ins. After Dark page 14 at dash, was Vince Foster killed continued, carpet fibers of various colors all over his clothing, including his underwear. Mr. Foster was a man who was known for wearing $500 suits. Now I submit to you that men who wear expensive clothing don't go rolling around on carpets in the middle of the afternoon. That is not the only thing they found. They also found body hairs of someone who had blonde hair. Mr. Foster had salt and pepper grayish hair on his clothing and underwear. We also find out that the X-rays are missing that would show exactly where the exit wound was on Mr. Foster's head. A technician who put the body in a body bag told me that he didn't need gloves to put the body in the body bag, that he didn't even have to wash his hand because there was so little blood, and that he didn't even remember an exit wound. The autopsy report says there was an exit wound. The police report quotes the pathologist as saying that he looked at the X-rays and found no metal fragments in Mr. Foster's head. Yet the Fisk report says that the X-ray machine was inoperable that day. Reed Irvine of Accuracy in Media called up the company that was servicing the brand new X-ray in the office and discovered it had never been serviced between June and October. So either someone is lying or the X-ray machine healed itself or there is a cover-up going on. What did they take? There are 2 other critical issues here that would affect all of us and the administration of justice in the United States. The first is the file that was taken from Mr. Foster's office. Whitewater became a major story with the December 20, 1993 article in the Washington Times saying that 3 White House aides ransacked Foster's office and took documents. These aides were Bernie Nussbaum, Patsy Thomason, and Hillary Clinton's chief of staff, Margaret Williams. Even the most gullible members of the White House press corps had to admit that White House aides weren't going in there to get the health care reform task force papers. Mr. Foster dies at 6 o'clock, the body isn't identified officially until 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, C, LVE the C, LFT that C, Lowe's After Dark. /U4AFTER Dark send orders and letters to CHC 744 Epine St, Central Point, or 97502 Dunvare $29.95 D Tuvars $57.90 D Threevers $85.85 NL. Want to subscribe to After Dark? And please send a gift subscript T0N/TAPH2, XJL.OT, VLSI MasterCard #2, address, city, from, state, zip state, .zip, Gil Givers complete TI1LS section, address, city, I want to order tapes hashtag price total after dark page 15 and they are running into his office at 10 o'clock in the evening, an office that should have been secured as part of any police crime scene. They go in and they take documents. The Washington Times says that they took Whitewater documents. The White House doesn't admit it the first day, but 2 or 3 days later the front page story of the Washington Post says the White House admits that Whitewater documents were taken. I have always said, who says they were Whitewater documents? What other documents were in that office that necessitated their going in? The third issue here is the FBI, the issue of whether the FBI was kept out of this investigation so that the less experienced Park Police could handle it. Former FBI Director William Sessions has charged that he was fired the day before Foster's death and that this led to a compromised investigation from the beginning. No grand jury people have said to me, how can you argue with Mr. Fisk's conclusion that it was a suicide? Mr. Fisk did not employ a grand jury for any part of his investigation relating to Mr. Foster. He was using grand juries in every other part of his Whitewater probe. But no one in the Foster investigation was put under oath. No sworn testimony, meaning no penalties for lying. I asked the most highly decorated living former FBI agent, William F. Romer, about this. He said he was shocked. Something can be inferred from this. He said in all of his 35 years in the Bureau they knew that if you didn't put people under oath, you are going to get a very different result. I haven't really drawn any conclusions here. But the questions still need to be answered and I believe that new independent counsel Kenneth Starr may very well come to a different conclusion. Christopher Ruddy is a former investigative journalist for the New York Post. To receive his 2 special reports on the Foster case, please send a tax-deductible donation of $7 to the Western Journalism Center, P.O. Box 2450 Fair Oaks, California, 95628. If you would like to help the WJC sponsor an independent investigation into the Foster case, you may enclose an additional tax-deductible contribution. 2. /JZHO 11G1011GA11, 1BA11 GOC /VITLA11 /RT and 11111011A. Time is running out. Join Art Bell in the Exotic Orient this spring. Make your reservations now. Art has always wanted to see Hong Kong and there isn't much time left. After 100 years of British rule, Hong Kong, the city famous for its bargain basement shopping and fabulous nightlife, will be turned over to the Communist Chinese in 1997. It will never be the same. So join Art in seizing the opportunity of a lifetime, before the door of democracy closes. Included this memorable trip with Art Bell provides stunning first-class hotels, exciting nightlife, sumptuous cuisine, bargain shopping, organized tours, as well as private time to explore 2 of the world's great cities. Relaxed discussions with Art about this once-in-a-lifetime experience, and, of course, the issues that are central to our time. Experience some of the world's most spectacular sights, from views of Victoria Peak to the beautiful beaches of Hong Kong's Repulse Bay. Enjoy the many photographic opportunities, including a fun photo session with Art and Ramona to remember the trip by. And then there's Bangkok, Thailand's City of Angels. Observe the culture of Thai life up close, and enjoy its specialties. Cruise the canals of Thornbury. Visit some of Thailand's most impressive World War II historic sites, and other memorable points of interest. In our trip, round-trip air travel on Japan Airlines or Cathay Pacific Airlines, sightseeing in Hong Kong and Bangkok aboard private motor coach, English-speaking guides, admission to many temples, shrines, and museums, gratuities to porters, and much more. Our choice of group bargain prices $2,055, credit card payments, or $1,995, payments by check/cash, to book space, or to get a detailed guide to this adventure with Art Bell, call 1-800-633-2732 *. These prices are set for West Coast gateway cities. Additional travel charges will depend on departure city. Please call for information. Bulk rate US postage paid permit #348 Medford, or A0566202/95 Violet Roden 2716 West Vella Avenue Spokane, Washington 99208 4566 3317 I. Do not read until after dark.